All right. Welcome everyone to today's webinar with the East Central Indiana Small Business Development Corporation and the Wayne County Chamber of Commerce. We're so excited you are here. Ed's asking if snacks are provided. Not today, Ed. But we do encourage you to introduce yourself in the chat box so we know who's here, and we're going to do some breakout sessions in a little bit. I'm Roxy Deer. I'm the Director of Professional Development, and I'm so excited to have you here today. Before we begin, I want to give a few updates on the Chamber and thank our sponsors. So first up, the 2020 Farm Tour. This is a new date, Thursday, September 17th. We're so excited to have everyone at the barn at Helm. If you haven't been there before, it's our only local flower garden, and they are going to be giving a behind-the-scenes tour of what happens at the barn. So you may have been there before. I know I have, but I've never gotten to see the planting, the growing, the harvesting piece of this. So this is a very educational event. Tickets are $10 and available through Eventbrite. And if you have any questions or if you're interested in going, we really encourage you to attend this event. We will be taking extra precautions as well with COVID. There will be a mask. We'll be using the mask. We'll be doing lots of different things to make sure that you're protected, that our barn is protected, as well as our guests and volunteers. I want to give a special shout out to First Merchants Bank, our sponsor for today's luncheon. We could not do this without them, so thank you, First Merchants. Today's speaker is Peggy Cenova from the East Central Indiana Small Business Development Corporation. We're so excited to have Peggy here today, and she brought with her Judy Porter, who works in their office as well. Welcome, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So Peggy, I'll go ahead and pull up your slideshow, and I'll let you get started.
Okay, well, I'm not really great at reading chats as we go along, so I was going to maybe ask everyone to introduce themselves. So think about that as we get a little bit further into this. As Roxy said, I am with the East Central Indiana Small Business Development Center. I'm the regional director there, and I am the former owner of a company called Straight Status Incorporated, where we did some advertising specialty through catalogs. And one time we had 75 employees and $5 million in sales, so I know what it is to own a business and to brand. And I got to go on to another part of my life, and now I'm with the Small Business Development Center. I like to read, and I love to learn new things. I enjoy networking and connecting with people, and that's what's been really hard during this time. I don't know about all of you, but for me to not be able to connect with people has been really hard. So I'm glad you're all here today, and I hope you will participate in the conversation as we go along. One thing I like to do is I love to iron, and I wondered if there was anybody else on here that liked to iron as well. Got any ironers out there? Bridget, you like to iron? Oh, you don't? Okay. Well, I only iron for those I love, so I'm not making any kind of a offer here. But I like to iron because you start out with a pile of messy clothes that just really don't look like much, and then you can take an afternoon and watch a movie or listen to some music or just muse, and then you have a beautiful wardrobe to be ready to use the next week. Roxy says she burned a blazer a few weeks ago. Oh dear, I can help you with that.
I might need help.
I think one reason I like to iron too is that my mom taught me how to iron. It was a big deal for her, so there's that connection, I think. So we're going to talk about branding today. And your brand, we can go to the next one, is your promise of what you're going to do for your customer. So we're going to try to understand the true idea of branding and why people buy brands. Who's your favorite brand? Have you thought about that? Tammy Ollery likes to do laundry and iron. We've got another ironer in the group. That's great, Tammy. Thanks. So understand the true idea of branding and why people buy brands. Identify your target customer. Have you thought about that? Oftentimes we have people come to talk with us at the Small Business Development Center, and they will say, oh, who's my customer? Everybody needs what I'm selling. And the problem with saying that everybody is your customer, it would be very expensive to advertise, market, brand towards everyone. So we like for you to have maybe 1, 2, 3, no more than 5 targets that you're really trying to reach. And then you need to define the real value of your product or service. What are you really selling? Have you thought about that? We're going to talk about that some today, and I hope you'll join in with that. And then how you use branding to increase your revenue. So it's going to be branding, branding, branding. First, we're going to talk about how the brand identity and your brand image. So your identity is what you think you're portraying out to people. What is your image? What is your service like? What are you portraying as your brand? And I was thinking about that before, as I was driving over here this morning, and I was thinking my personal brand came up with a slogan a few weeks ago, is I want to be bold. But then my brand image, what some people might see from that boldness is brashness. So you've got to kind of measure what you're putting out there and then what's being listened to. So those were some of the thoughts I had is, does your customer get what you're trying to sell? What do they understand what the brand is? Does anybody have any discussion on that? We're going to have crickets here. How fun. This is going to be a really short morning if we don't get some help. How do customers perceive what you're doing with your brand? I've got some familiar names out there. I might call on you if you're not careful. Okay. Is the identity of your company what sets you apart from the rest, and who you are, down deep, who you are, who you want to be, and who you perceive, why people perceive you to be. What's going on there? Did my screen change that? What's going on, Roxy? Okay, we're ready for the next one, I think. What problems do you help your customers solve? So I'm going to need some audience participation here. Oh, Josh is not at his keyboard, so he can't help me out. Doggone it, Josh. I was hoping maybe you would be the one. What problems do you help your customers solve? I was thinking about that too as I was preparing this, and I was thinking, what problems does the Indiana Small Business Development Center solve? And often people come to us with the idea that they just need some more money. They need a loan, they need some investment, when in fact, if you look through all the parts of their businesses, there are other problems that need to be solved as well, such as finding the correct target for their market. And we help them do that. So sometimes the problem that you first address isn't the solution that they're really looking for. Anybody at this point have any problems that they think that they solve? No. Have we got one, Roxy?
At Richmond schools, we're solving problems every day, every hour of every day. So
I bet you are.
We've been very, very busy, and not just solving problems for students and families, but also for our staff.
So you have 3 sets of customers, right?
Yes. Well, and community. We count the community key stakeholders also. So basically 4.
And how are your solutions going, Bridget?
Today, I think our solutions are going all right. As far as branding, we have the We Are Richmond logo. As far as trying to look at ways, and the schools have all done a fantastic job. Even during the COVID crisis that we have here, we've had some key stakeholders as far as businesses that have kind of used that big R around town, and so that's been nice. It's been nice to see that happen with different, just the support. I don't know, around Easter time, we saw the great big eggs, around town, and that was really, really nice. And then even the Leland, they end up using the R also, as far as on top of their building, that we're in this together. We are stronger, things like that. So I think that even the city parks are doing some pieces too. So for us, I think it's been a lot of a joint, it's been helping with a joint collaboration as far as teamwork, working together, trying to get us through not just the school year, but through this whole, I hate to say it, unprecedented times. But Yeah.
What else are we going to say?
I know.
Well, and that R being ubiquitous in the community did not happen overnight, did it?
Right.
That's been a lot of building. And so I thought this might be a time to break into some groups. Roxy is going to break us into it. So you're going to have to talk to one another, I think, or it's going to be very boring and very long. So try to think through, what problems do you help your customers solve? And come up with some ideas that you can share with the rest of us when we come back. I'd say about 5 minutes, you think, Roxy?
All right.
So
On your
break down.
screen, there should be a thing that says to go to your breakout rooms.
Be aware that the people who I had in class are
Right.
not ready to come back to class necessarily yet. And then also, if you give anybody a reason not to work out, they will just not work out. So,
And so now are you just doing a lot of your stuff via Zoom or Google Meet or Facebook? How are you working with that with your company, with your business?
well, so as of June, I was back at the Y, and I was doing a couple classes in person and a couple classes on Zoom. And then at Earlham, we just went back this week to in-person classes. So, but the numbers and things aren't back up because
Right.
people aren't going back to gyms. They're not flocking back there. So I've been trying to do some stuff on my own and plan out how to do everything. And so before, what I was using was Zoom, and I have the Zoom membership to have an hour meeting, but attendance was always kind of hit or miss. Some nights I'd have 10 people in class and some nights I'd have 0. So
Now, are you allowed to do Zoom like simultaneously while you're doing your class?
we've done that a couple times. I can't do it that way at Earlham, but I did it that way at the Y to start. But then they kind of said, well, maybe we shouldn't do it because then that gives people a reason not to come in. So we've done it. We've talked about going back. I don't know. So like in July, the middle of July, I was having like 5 or 6 people back in class for some of the classes at the Y. And then that next mask mandate came out, and it kind of shut everything back down again. So it's been really, really sparse. I think the most I've had since then has been like 3 people.
Oh.
So it's been all over the place. I'm trying to get some additional certifications and things and maybe just start like
Hey, Kayla.
oh, hi, I had to unmute myself.
Bridget, we're really excited to have Cliff join us. You're still muted.
He is very excited also. Great opportunity. So
Good, we're
anxious to
excited.
see how he does. I thought maybe he'd be in on something like this. So I'm gonna have to get him out of his bubble, see if it's something he'll sit in and listen to.
Okay. All right, welcome back, everyone. Peggy, we need to unmute you, but then the floor is yours. There you go.
Okay, the floor is mine, and I don't know, are we going to have any more luck in sharing this time around than we had last time? My group had a problem with we had technical difficulties and could not talk to one another. So it was a rather long 5 minutes. We did do some chatting, and I hope some of the rest of you had a little bit better experience. Anybody willing to share what they decided was the problem that they saw for their people?
I think Tammy Ellery needs to share.
Tammy, it says she'll be right back. I think she's running to the restroom. I heard a great conversation about problem solving during the pandemic, and how some businesses are having to change their branding to solve that issue.
Maybe Tammy will come back and talk with us. We'll see. Anybody else?
Ed, I think you should share.
I like this nomination stuff.
Right?
Sorry, okay, yeah, unmuted myself there. So yeah, so from a photography point of view, I help kind of tell the story of events rather than just going and taking pictures. I kind of help turn that event into like a visual storytelling aspect for those that I take pictures for. And everything. And from the marketing side, it's more so just going in, helping my clients kind of identify what the message that they're trying to send to their customers, and making that look nice and pretty for them.
Okay. Anybody else willing to share with us? How about you, Melissa?
I'm always happy to share, but you know, I don't want to own the floor, but we have done a lot of problem solving through the last 6 months plus, I guess, with helping our businesses access resources and that they need, whether it's financial or PPE or things like that. And then also just kind of being the voice of businesses with our legislators as they're making decisions on how to move through this and beyond it. So that's been a huge emphasis of the chamber lately. And while we do some of that, always, it's been the majority of what we've been doing over the last 6 months.
Well, and I kind of think of the chamber as solving the problem of connections.
Mm-hmm.
That you connect those who are offering services to those who need services, and just kind of a hub of everything.
It plays really well into what our mission is, which is to be the unifying link of the community. So you got it, girl.
You're living your brand there. Okay, well, I was hoping for some more unmutes, but if not, we will just go on.
Peggy,
Judy?
I will share what Tammy said since she's
good.
She said that they were offering more options than they had in the past. They had, well, I think everybody knows that they do ice cream, but they had some vegan options and dairy-free options, and they're trying to cater to different people besides just ice, regular traditional ice cream. So anyway.
So they're finding different channels.
Yeah, and then we got cut off, so that's all I know. Because we went back to by the time we got it figured out how to interact, then it was time to go, basically. But that's what she shared with me.
I will say the new vegan ice cream is delicious.
I wish I lived in Richmond because I would probably be over there every night. We have the local place here that I'm like at constantly. I love ice cream. So I would like to try some of those different options to see what they were like. So anyway.
Okay, thanks. So we talked about what problems we saw, which is really a big question when you're starting with your brand. And so some of the questions to define your brand is, what do your customers trust your team over your competitors? So I think about McDonald's. They aren't trying to sell to fine diners. They aren't trying to compete against Five Guys or really expensive, even expensive hamburgers. They're trying to sell an extremely affordable price and consistency. And I think that they've lived that brand over and over throughout their years, and that's been some success for them. Then we're going to talk about brands of a $5 cup of coffee or an 89-cent cup of coffee. And I realized here in Richmond that cup of Starbucks should be Roscoe's, but I couldn't find an image to steal for this PowerPoint picture. So let's just think about why you spend $5 or $4 or even anything more than 89 cents for a cup of coffee, and how those people brand themselves differently than the quickie store that sells a cup of coffee. So I'm not even sure I can read the chat here. Yeah, maybe I can. So if you don't want to get on and talk, you're afraid to unmute or you can't unmute, tell me why you would spend more than 89 cents for a cup of coffee when you could just go to the quickie store and get that 89-cent cup. What are you buying that's different from just an inexpensive cup of coffee?
Well, you're buying a higher quality product, and then they're usually flavored too, unless you like just strain plain black coffee.
Okay, that's one thing you're buying. I heart pumpkin spice. Melissa says that's why she's going. Tammy's going for quality, and there's something that I always think of as Starbucks as an experience, or Roscoe's. When you walk into Roscoe's and you feel like you're walking into almost a friend's set where they've got wonderful places to sit and enjoy one another. Roxy likes Roscoe's coffee. And pup cups. I always buy pup cups. I don't even know what a pup cup is. So you'll have to share that with me, or I'll have to go down to Roscoe's and find out. But the higher end are selling an experience. They're selling really good coffee. The 89-cent cup is just not if you need caffeine, you can get that for 89 cents. But if you're looking for the whole experience and the higher quality, you're probably going to go to Starbucks. And if you think about the difference in the profit, you might want to be the Starbucks of whatever business you're trying to promote. Oh, and someone tells me that pup cups are for whipped cream for the dogs. Oh, that sounds like fun. I have to try that. Now we're going to talk about who you are. So as you're sitting there, write down 5 words that define your business. Think of 5 words that you would use to say who you are. An example would be honest, innovative, traditional, affordable, vivacious. Oh, Tammy does free ice cream cups, it says. Got to remember that too. So what word would you say describes your ice cream, Tammy? What 5 words? Can you think of some? Bridget, go ahead, Tammy.
I've got just ice cream in general, or frozen treats. Friendly, community-minded, the experience with it being uniquely made.
You know, I think that you live those brands all the time. I would agree with that, knowing your product pretty well. Good. 5 words. Anybody else have 5 words or fewer that describe their business? Bridget, you're brave enough to have your camera on. Maybe you could share with us.
Well, I put down caring, diverse, helpful. I put education as far as a word, just to put that in community. So those were just some things I topped down.
I think that's great. I think just an exercise to sit down and think about when you try to distill what your service is and what defines you is really a great exercise. And as we're thinking about building this brand thought, it's a great idea to have a notebook or a whiteboard or a Pinterest board or somewhere to deposit all these thoughts together so that as you're building your brand, you have a place to find it in one spot. I know as a rather scattered person, sometimes it helps me to make sure that I have all those ideas put together as I move forward. So 5 words. Anybody else want to share 5 words? You could do it in the chat as well.
I'll share the 4 words I got down for the chamber. I put professional, innovative, community-driven, and helpful. But we're constantly reevaluating those 5 words.
But the essence doesn't change. Is that right, Roxy?
Yes.
That's kind of how that works. Okay, thank you all for sharing that did. So these are the big questions that define your brand. What is your story? Have you thought of your story? What's behind what you do? And telling your story can be a powerful means to build your relationship with your customers or your clients. Telling about how you got to where you are. If you think about the story of Disney World, Disneyland, and Walt Disney and how he started out just with a mouse, a drawing of a mouse, and how it built to the giant corporation that it is, I think most of us know part of that story because it hits close to home, that it was a beginning that we can all relate to. So is there something about your business that you can tell your story? I'm gonna call on you, Ed. You've taken a journey recently and broken out and started your own business. Have you thought about what that story is? You don't have to have the story, but have you thought about it?
Like the story of the City Life brand?
Yeah.
That's well, I mean, like I was saying earlier, I mean, it's all about like just capturing using storytelling as the mode for the work that I do and everything. So thinking it as not just something I'm doing, but how am I using the tools and my assets to be able to tell the story of my clients.
Okay, I was thinking maybe you want to think about this as you move forward with your branding. What is the story of what got you there? What is City Life's story? So that's kind of what I was thinking about. If you can tell a story and relate to people, you can become a little bit closer to the way that they think and how they are, and get into their heart, because all decisions are emotional decisions, and then we build up the logic to say, yeah, that was the right car to buy, logically, but emotionally is the reason we bought it. So storytelling is always a good thing to think about. Next, we've got some lists of things that you might have. Oh, there we go. These are pretty big brands, and I practice my talk with my granddaughter when I'm doing these things, and I asked her about Amazon, and she said, well, it's easy access. She's 9 years old. Amazon has taught her that they are easy access. That's what they are. So if you all would look at this list of brands, or maybe tell me a favorite brand they have and what's the essence of what they're doing for you. Facebook, I think, connects lots of us. I know that. I think
Google has been huge. I had, someone asked me the other day if we were interested in advertising in a phone book, and I'm like, I haven't used a phone book because I just Google someone's address or a phone number or directions. I do it all. So I think that piece for me has been that image for me. It's, that identity. It's just been, it's a culture now. It's just it's changed so many people.
It's a verb. Yeah. It really is. Anyone else have a brand that jumps out to them?
I always think about Nike when I think about branding. They're always kind of on the edge of whatever's going on in the world. They're always doing some really unique, sometimes controversial marketing around their product. But when I think about sports lines and who I want to go to, Nike's been consistent since I was a kid.
Wow. They've done a good job in telling you that they're the place that you want to be. Mm-hmm. I think Comcast has had like a storied past where many people think that they are anti-service, and they really had to fight that. But I do believe that they've had trouble with their branding. Then I have a list of local brands. So maybe we'll have some conversation about the local brands here. And I hope I spelled everything correctly. I tried. And when you think about Gallows, what do you think about? You can chat, you don't have to talk.
I think about pasta.
I think about lobster bisque.
Oh, yeah.
Anyone else have any favorite food from Gallows? Oh, Bridget thinks about the owner.
Oh, yeah.
And how he's built that business up from one small restaurant to several?
Every time I think of Gallows, I always think, you don't see him very often, but I think about all the different businesses he has also in Richmond. So you think about the Fifth Street Bagel Shop, you think about, Old Richmond End. And then I always also think how he hand serves those, when we had the Taste of Wayne County. He's that guy. So it's just what he doesn't even know who I am. I know that. I know he doesn't know who I am. But when I think of the word Gallows, of course the food, but just the investment he's made in the community has been for me.
So he has really lived his brand, is what I hear you saying. And Tammy says it's their atmosphere, and it's quality done well, and that's consistent, and that's hard to do in food business. So I think that they've done well. And Tammy, I've got your homemade ice cream here, and I just think deliciousness when I think of that, and a unique texture that is just one of a kind, and a great product to have. Any other discussion on some of these local brands?
I would say for all of these brands, I think about what Bridget said is their investment in our community. I mean, there's not a restaurant listed on here that hasn't made some type of investment, and they're continuously supporting other groups. And when I think about where I want to go to eat, it's always one of these places because I know they're giving back in other ways.
Yes, I think you've read many memes that say a large chain restaurant isn't going to sponsor your son's Little League team. It's just not going to happen. So that community give back is really
And
important.
I also think of like the longevity of the employees. Employees seem to be, I mean, it's a relationship at these places here. They know their customers. They get that relationship built with and so like I would want to go to El Rodeo because we see the same, they're like they basically, and I don't know if they know our name, but they act like they do. The wait staff, the bartenders, all of them. So it's and it's the same thing with Little Shebas. I mean, they'll walk up and say, "Hey, I saw this," and with a group of people, like, I was at Little Sheba's yesterday or Tuesday, and it was, same old, same old. I mean, it's that relationship too.
And that doesn't come without training for employees and without treating employees properly. And so all of that service that comes out to your customer is something that you need to manage as part of your brand. I think that was a really good comment, Bridget, about the wait staff. You know them, they're going to be there, so they must be being treated well. Part of their brand. So next, I want you to have some more fun discussion because we've got some going on here. Thank you. Brands that you admire. Choose your business heroes. And in that repository that we talked about where we're going to start putting ideas for branding and how we're going to move forward, collect quotes that speak to you and your brand. And we're not going to steal anything, but we can be inspired by it. All the great artists were inspired by other artists, and most marketers are inspired by other marketers. And then you can collect images that represent your brand ideal. Colors and fonts and all of that. Create a mood board that contains your favorite quotes and images. And I know some of you are probably going to even hire some professionals to help you with the marketing of your brand. But if you have all this together ahead of time, before you go to meet that first marketing meeting with a professional, you'll be ahead of the game and you'll be able to tell them what you want. So collecting all of this stuff and being ready ahead of time can be very important. What's your favorite brand? Anybody have a favorite brand besides Nike and Gallows and Allery's? Any brand that you admire that you want to be like? Bridget, do you follow other school systems?
Oh, yeah. I was just in a Zoom meeting yesterday with different corporations, Brownsburg, Central Grove, all of them, and the same type of job that I do, just in a larger school district. But I mean, we go back and forth, and this is what we're doing. Can you share me your template? And I mean, we do it. We bounce off of each other a lot, especially with today's timeline that we have. Some schools just started on Monday, so we're like, we're on day 11. We can kind of say that we're further along a little bit, but just we definitely our newest thing right now has been the Mask Up Richmond. Mm-hmm. And Mask Up Hoosiers was a big thing, and we like, well, what can we do to make it more for the city of Richmond? And so that was a little fun piece that we've been doing lately with the hashtag Mask Up Richmond a little bit just during the COVID crisis. So
you made it your own?
We did.
Cool.
And we got permission. It was okay from the Indiana Department of Health. They were like, anything you guys can do to help, move that, to awareness, participation of wearing masks. And for our students, it's been kind of fun.
Yes, I'm sure it has. Fun and challenging. Ed says one of his favorite brands is Nintendo, and that's not something I follow. So, Ed, what do you like about Nintendo brand?
Oh, well, Nintendo has always been an innovator when it came to anything video games. And every time they've released a new system, they've always tried to do something new, something different. such as with the Switch, it was a hybrid. Not only can you play it on your TV, but you can put these little Joy-Cons on the side, and it becomes a handheld system. The other thing they do is within the company themselves, they usually have one lead designer for a certain product, such as, let's say, you have one director of the Mario games. That's the person who directs every single Mario game. Same with the Link games, to the fact that even an example is when the creator of Mega Man left, even though they're Capcom, they stopped making Mega Man games because they lost the director. So their product is really tied into the creativeness and the artisans behind that product.
And I can tell that you are very enthusiastic about that brand, so they've been good at targeting you. How nice.
Oh yeah,
Tammy
since I was 8
says,
years old.
that's cool. Tammy says that they belong to a national ice cream retailer, and they've gotten some ideas from that national group, so it never hurts to be a part of a large group that can help you innovate and come forward. Back to what Ed said about the Nintendo having an ownership of a kind of a game. That's the story they've told, and they're living by it, and that really has resonated with him. So stories there are really important. Then we're going to go on to competitive analysis. Again, study who your competitors are. Study their branding. We, not really a competitor, but a similar organization is called SCORE. And SCORE and ISBDC are both directed through the SBA. But I think of them more as mentors, where they use their lifelong experience because they're usually retired or older professionals, and they mentor one-on-one with people. Where at the ISBDC, our business advisors have a deep toolbox of tools that we can use with our clients to find demographic information or industry-specific information. So we have two different things. So I don't think of them as a competitor. I think of how their brand is and how we can differentiate from it. And that's what we need to do, is determine how your business is different from the other brands, and then create your competitive advantage. Do any of you have a competitive advantage that makes you different from everyone else? I'll just wait here. We'll just sit for 5 minutes. No. What makes you different? What is your unique selling point? I think is the proper marketing term. But I guess Bridget said that Gallows was his group of restaurants' unique selling point, just his touch on everything. And then Nintendo, not Nintendo, Nike, what do you think they're different from Reebok, or what's different, Roxy?
For me, it's that they're constantly like current with what's going on. So during the pandemic, they released probably one of the coolest ads I've ever seen done, where they took all these pre-recorded videos and they mashed them together. And just phenomenal marketing, but they're constantly like pushing boundaries. And so then when I think about companies I want to wear, or companies that I want represented, I want somebody who's pushing the boundaries a little bit more. So and I know it's a quality product.
There's always that underneath all the other special stuff that they're gonna provide something that you want.
Yeah.
So how are you doing that in your market? And that's your competitive advantage. Next, we're going to talk about why. Why are you in the business you're in? And I think most of us have a why, or we wouldn't be doing it. My why is I've had a storied business career, and my why is I get to share all the mistakes I made with people so they don't make those mistakes. And that is really fun to be able to do. Why are you selling your photography, or why is Tammy interested in selling ice cream? What is your why? And if I were selling ice cream, it would be that joy you're bringing to everybody that bites into that first bite. And if you have any other discussions about why you're doing what you're doing. Okay, just think about that why then, if you don't want to share with the rest of us. Now we're going to talk about your target market. So who is your target? We talked earlier a little bit briefly about if you're selling to everyone, it's going to be very difficult to find that ability to reach everyone, because that's going to cost a lot of money. But if you know how old they are, what their sex is, what their income level is, what their interests are, and their vocabulary and their tone, you can learn how to speak to each person the way you want to speak to them. You might have more than one target, but it's always a great exercise I have with my clients to find out who their very best customers are. Who is your ideal customer? Who's coming back very often? Who's spending a lot of money? Who's using their voice to promote you? Who loves you? And then find out if you can find other people like that. So if they're a 30-year-old woman who is in the $30,000 income bracket and has interests in reading books and fashion, and that they use vocabulary that is part of that age group, those are how you want to target them. And you can do that through social media or through direct mail, or just the tone of your signs and your fonts and all of that. If you know who your target is, then you can back up and find out how to reach them completely. Has anybody thought about that before? Who's your target?
For us, the target, we really try to reach moms. A lot of the moms are the ones who decide where they want to send their child to school. Of course, dads make that decision also. That's the target that we try to grab the most right now, especially if they're trying to sign their new kindergartner up or preschooler. Here in Richmond, in the state of Indiana, parents can choose whatever district they want their child to attend. So it's not like when I was in school, when I lived on the west side of town, I went to Westview Elementary School. Now, like if I lived on the west side, my mom could choose to send me to Northeastern, or could send me to the Friends School or Seton or Centerville. Like my mom could have chose anything like that. So as far as our market, it's been just trying to grab some of those younger parents. And then also another market is some of our high school students. They want sometimes, able to choose what higher secondary schooling they want. So if they would like to have more dual credit or more advanced placement classes or vocational classes, they can transfer to our district for those additional opportunities to help with career placement, college placement, that sort of thing. So we have moving into Instagram a lot as far as social media platforms. Kids have responded a lot to that. They're trying to talk me into doing TikTok. That's kind of scary. So, but all the kids keep saying, I need to do it, I need to do it, and you do it. So that's gonna be a new one for me to learn. And then as far as with the parents, everyone has, their phone. So just trying to, again, how to get our key audience, the target audience, and get information to them. And again, to create that relationship that we're a trusting, diverse group of professionals that are looking for the well-being of children.
Excellent. Roxy, were you going to add something?
Yeah, I would just say, for us, it varies. Like Bridget, that we have multiple audiences. We have all of our local businesses, but we also have the members inside those businesses. So a lot of people think like a chamber is CEOs and executives, but anybody who works for a chamber member can be a part of the chamber. And now we have the added bonus of having height, which is 21 to 40. And so we just have many, and of course we have the community, and we have just the overall general, politics and all that plays into it. So our audience is wide.
So you have many targets.
Yes.
But you have probably a little bit different message for different targets?
Yeah, the messaging that we use for hype is completely different than what we use for businesses. And trying to navigate that can be really difficult sometimes.
Yeah. And a business like Tammy's is probably, I don't know, Tammy, do you think maybe children are part of your target because they bring their parents? I don't know. You just kind of got to sit down and figure out who those targets are. But find out who your best client is, who your best customer is, and try to repeat that and figure out what they like about you and make that part of your brand. So I also thought about choosing one word that best defines you, and then find one or two secondary words. And I just pulled up 3 brands here. YouTube, broadcast yourself. That's what they say. QuickBooks, get back to business. Or, and I never heard of this before, but blogger.com. Oh, I've made a typo here. It's push button publishing. It's not just push. It's push button publishing. So, oh, there's up at the top. I just saw it. So think about how you define that down to just a few words, because it's always great to have those few words you can come up with. I always introduce myself as from the East Central Indiana Small Business Development Center, where we help businesses start, grow, and flourish. And I try to do that in any group I'm in so that people can understand we work with any size business under 500 employees, and we can help them along the way anywhere they are. If they've got an idea, if they've started up in the last year, if they've been in business for 100 years. So those three words are kind of what I use for that subtext. Then you're going to have a brand guide. Do any of you have brand guides already? Roxy and Bridget do. How about somebody else raising their hand or at least chatting about a brand guide they have? My brand guide is dictated to me by the state level Indiana Small Business Development Center, and also by Ball State University, where we're hosted. So we have to follow the colors and the fonts and the ideas that they have, just so it's all consistent for their brand. You need to know what your key values are and what your brand represents. I don't think, let's see, I wear Reebok shoes because I'm older than you are, Roxy. So their key values are different than Nike's, right? But they both know what their key values are. I think Reebok is probably comfort, and Nike is cutting edge. So those are two different things, but they know what they are and they stay in their lane. So your brand message and the tone of voice. It's funny, Bridget, that you missed TikTok, because when I was talking to my granddaughter, who's 9 this morning, about this, I said, now, if I were trying to sell to you, what social media channel do you think I should get on? And she said, TikTok. I said, oh, okay. There you go. And I said, do you watch that? And her mother was sitting there and she said, no, but I'm not sure. There you go. You got to know your audience. And then your color palette. It's important to be consistent with your fonts and your colors and your logo, and even the phrases you use, and the photography, the style, all of that. You need to have that in that repository we talked about, on a whiteboard, in a notebook, on an app of some kind. Keep it all together so that you can figure out what you want to be, and then be consistent time after time after time. So you need to use your brand identity, define your target persona. We talked about that target. Determine your ideal communication channels. We just talked about that a little bit. Understand the message you are looking to deliver. Is what you are saying being heard by your audience? And you can find out by doing some surveys. A quick little survey monkey sent to 20 of your best customers can give you an idea of what you're trying to say is getting delivered. And then you need to establish an emotional connection by using stories. When, was it Bridget was talking about, no, I think it was Roxy, going to Little Shiva's, and you feel like when you walk in there, you know what to expect. It's consistent. Establish that emotional connection by having those same people there serving you, and always having quality professional service. That's a big deal. And I think I have a list of the things. Oh, let's see. Someone says, when the intern at RHS, Bridget taught me about brand identity when I was working on a project. She made me change the font and colors of a project to align with the RCS identity. So Bridget, we're glad you're here today. It sounds like you are taking a little refresher talk here and helping us out, letting others know what needs to be done. So we need to do all of these things. Now, if these are the things we've been trying to discuss throughout the whole thing. Determine your brand, figure out who and what and why, and the stories. Research your competitors to see how you're different from them, and then position your unique selling point. What is different about you? And I'm sure that each business that's represented here has something that no one else is doing. And find that, and find out what your clients want or your customers want, and use that. Define what you do, why you're unique, the value you provide. Identify your name and your logo and your tagline and your signature elements, and then launch your brand. Try it. And then monitor and evaluate it and keep it relevant. I was thinking of Coca-Cola as a brand. you know, their signature font of how they write their name never changes, but other things change around it. And the story of them being fun and a great place to communicate over a Coke never changes, but it evolves, and they keep it relevant all of the time. Any questions? Here's my digits. I think that's probably from the 90s. Peggy Cenova at isbdc.org. There's my phone number. And I've enjoyed talking with you this morning. We got it done in time, Roxy. We're under the clock. And if you'd like to reach out to the ISBDC, you can find us at those places. We offer business consulting at no cost. So your tax dollars already paid for what we do.
Peggy, in the chat box, I'm going to add a link to a SurveyMonkey survey where we can better, this is just a follow-up on this, so I'm trying to get it to copy now. Judy, will you go ahead and post it? For some reason, it's not letting me copy and paste. But we just want to say thank you to Miss Peggy again for always joining us and making sure that we know everything we need to know to be successful in our community. We couldn't do this without Peggy.
Happy.
I also want to say thank you to our sponsors, First Merchants Bank. Again, they sponsor this every year, and we love having them. Peggy, we're off next month, you and I, but we will be back. We do have another group coming in to do a business ed luncheon, and we'll be rolling out the marketing for that next week. So we're excited about that. But we'll be back, Peggy, in October. We're going to do one about fears. We're going to play on the Halloween theme a little bit, and feeling out your fears and how you can play through those in your business. All right, so Judy has posted the SurveyMonkey in the chat box. If you would take a few minutes and fill that out, just so that we can have some feedback on today's session, we'd really appreciate that. And once again, here's Peggy's contact information if you have any questions. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and we will see you soon.